she had passed away. She was gone. Just shock. Like everybody was shocked. Never saw that coming. It was not anything that anybody ever expected, especially from Raylan. She didn't have anything else in her system except for the 2 milligram of fentanyl.
People thought they were buying, the oxycodone or the hydrocodone or whatever, and they ended up buying pills that had fentanyl mixed in it.
People from all walks of life and college kids and young kids, teenagers, thinking they're getting an Adderall at a party or something, and they're just dropping dead.
Hundreds of overdose deaths in South Mississippi linked to fentanyl.
It would not be uncommon at one facility for us to see 3-4 opioid overdoses in one day.
I'm taking you inside the crisis in Mississippi's hardest hit county.
We brought in over 100,000 pills of fentanyl pills just last year, just our unit.
From raw stories of addiction.
He's beside me and he's shaking me. Trisha, wake up, Trisha, wake up.
So you're overdosing.
I was overdosing.
To the front lines of law enforcement's fight against this deadly drug.
And a lot of the overdoses that we get at this point involve fentanyl in some kind of way.
This is Fatal Dose, South Mississippi's fentanyl crisis.
Fatal Dose, a WLOX News special looking into the fentanyl crisis in South Mississippi. You can watch it Monday evening on WLOX CBS.
And Noah Noble, reporter behind this year-long investigation into the deadly drug being sold, and joining us now. And Noah, that's a lot of work. So you've seen behind the scenes, you've seen the front lines, and this is something, it's not stopping. That's one thing right off the bat you think about. This is going, and that train is taken off.
Yeah, there's no stopping fentanyl. Where there's a demand, there's always going to be a supply. And drugs are as old as time. Certainly with fentanyl, something as dangerous as fentanyl, though, it really is unprecedented. And I say this, we're not being dramatic. We're not just saying, oh, this is unprecedented. Right. It really is, especially in terms of what they're putting fentanyl in. They're putting this in methamphetamine. Fentanyl is an opioid. It doesn't have any relationship or side effects like meth does, yet they're mixing it together, and we're seeing overdoses. Same thing with cocaine. And there's really not been a drug like fentanyl that has just been put in literally everything, and as fatal as it is.
Widespread. And in this program, you go in depth into the causes for this fentanyl crisis, who has been hooked on it, and the law enforcement area focus now to combat it. And really, this was staggering to me in Mississippi, and this is in the report, from a 2-year period. More than 900 Mississippians died of suspected opioid overdose. A quarter of those were right here in Harrison County. Why is Harrison County such a hotbed?
Yeah, Harrison County in general for 3 years has led the state in the most opioid overdoses. We're almost twice the person in number 2, which is Jackson County. And then it goes into DeSoto and Hinds County. Yeah, 281 deaths in Harrison County over 3 years. It's really I-10. This stuff is coming from, most of it starts in China. They make it in some factory in China. They ship it over to Mexico. From Mexico, they either turn it into powder or they put it into pills, fake pills. Those get shipped over the border, and I-10 is right there. I-10, one of the biggest drug corridors in the United States, and we're right here. And the proof is in the pudding. I mean, 281 compared to second place, which is 157.
Yeah, those numbers are really staggering, and we don't always hear about an overdose death.
Yeah, and there's even more overdoses that are prevented using Narcan or medical treatment. Those don't get reported. So we don't even know how many lives are getting saved. These are just the deaths that are being reported and that are actually being found.
When you're talking about that, just the fact that law enforcement has to carry Narcan, and I know there's a couple other substances, so almost like an anti-venom, if you will. Yeah. When they are having to do that and they need more, that just says right there how bad this crisis is. So obviously this stuff, the way they mix it, is highly addictive.
And one of the big scariest parts, honestly, about fentanyl is that when you have these pills, these pressed pills, during the 2000s into the 2010s, we had the opioid crisis. People were getting prescription pills. In fact, in Mississippi, for a number of years, there were more prescriptions dispensed each year than there were people living in the state, which is just astonishing. So it created this addict culture, really, of people addicted to opioids from legal prescriptions. When the government cracked down on that, there was a need to fill that hole, and so they went to illicit Fentanyl just happened to come out or was popularized around then and being incredibly fatal. It's
Yeah,
scary.
the search for stronger and stronger substances was on, and fentanyl has filled that need essentially. So how about the effort to combat it? So we're hearing so much about immigration reform, and also, is that making a difference at all? And what about what's being done at the local level? Is it making a difference?
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time with the Harrison County Narcotics Task Force, and they told me they distinctly saw a difference between the presidential administrations. From President Trump leaving office to Biden getting in, they saw an increase in traffic across the border. With President Trump back in office, they're seeing a decrease in that stuff moving across the border here. What was the second part of your question?
Yeah, just now at the local level, what's being done, and is it making a difference here?
Across the state, we have something called Parker's Law, and Parker's Law has two factors. It basically allows, sorry, producer talking in my ear there. Basically, Parker's Law allows law enforcement to go after fentanyl dealers who sell fentanyl and somebody dies, and it also protects drug users. They want drug users to know if you and I are hanging out and you start overdosing, if I call 911, I'm not going to get charged for those drugs there, because the state wants to save lives more so than making an arrest.
Yeah, because there was, I don't know, it was a couple of years ago, there was a case. I went into, I think it was Justice Court. 90% of the people, I was there for one particular case, but drugs, and it was, people's lives are being ruined, and they were in jail. You know, so
and these aren't typically fentanyl is not
it,
just the typical addict either. These are teenagers buying Adderalls or college kids. It's affecting everybody.
This is really bringing a needed spotlight on the issue. You can watch this show, Fatal Dose, coming up Monday night at 6:30 on WLOX CBS. Noah Noble, thank you so much for joining us, and really great job on this. If you're looking to watch something,
show,
you really need to check it out, especially if you're a parent. Well, thanks for joining us here on WLOX News this week. Have a great week ahead.